Wonderful. We are now live, and I'm always very excited and always a little bit nervous because I'm human when we're live. And my name is Dr. Tova Goldfiin, and tonight I'm co-hosting with my colleague and good friend, Dr. Ishai Friedman, who will translate every few sentences so we can be bilingual. שלום, ישי, ערב טוב.
שלום, שלום, ברוכים הבאים, איזה כיף להיות פה. אנחנו מארחים את הצוות מהסרט הנפלא, Love Heals, יחד עם טובה.
כן.
כיף להיות פה.
כן, so this evening our guests are my good friends and fellow healers, and the main character of the movie Love Heals, and the producer and the director and the camera woman. I mean, you guys are it. So Dana Crossier and Crisana Sexton from Arizona, Mountain Time. Mountain Time. So we can talk about the vortexes here in Israel another time, but they're from Arizona, and the movie was shown a few weeks ago at the Spirit Cinema Festival, and I'll let Ishai translate in a minute. And there was a huge, wonderful attention around it. I was able to participate in that. And so we wanted to talk more about Love Heals, which is international, by the way. All languages. So you can repeat that, Ishai.
כן, הסרט ממש זכה להכרה בינלאומית, זה הוקרן פה בפסטיבל לפני כמה שבועות, וגם זכה לאהדה מאוד גדולה, ואנחנו שמחים לארח פה אותם ישר מאריזונה, הגיעו ממש לשתף אותנו גם בחוויית הסרט שלהם, ובקונספט שעומד מאחורי הסרט.
Wonderful. So I wanted to, אני רוצה מתחילה.
I want to start.
Want to start.
Maybe we'll do the opposite. I'll translate.
Yeah. The world is Olpan Tova, which is like I'm learning Kolizman. I wanted to start with asking Dana and Crisana to speak together. Maybe give a little bit of there'll be some new people that have not seen the movie, but that have been hearing the buzz. Maybe to share a little bit about, you know, I'm fascinated by the injury you had and that it turned into something bigger, but maybe you can share a little bit about the history and then the movie and then the retreat to begin. Ishai, can you share that?
השאלה ממש אל שניהם זה קצת על הרקע, מה הביא אותם ליצור את הסרט ולפציעה של קריסטינה.
Go ahead.
Okay. My initial injury actually was back in May of 2017, and it was a simple injury from running on a treadmill where I thought I just pulled a muscle, and unfortunately it turned into a lot more than that. I didn't heal the way that I anticipated, and so the journey began, which I'll explain in a moment.
זה מה שהיא אומרת, שהפציעה התחילה משהו ממש טריוויאלי לגמרי, איזשהו הליכה להליכון ופציעה בעקב, שהוא לא, פשוט לא התרפא, והכאב נהפך לכרוני.
So I tried everything from physical therapy to seeing chiropractors, massage, all of the things that I was told to do, you know, with traditional doctors. And I continued to experience a lot of pain and ultimately had to have an MRI, which showed that I had a herniated disc in my back, which they thought was causing all of the pain in my legs and my ankles and feet.
אז היא עשתה את כל הדברים שהרופאים אמרו לה, מטיפול פיזיותרפי וכל הטיפולים האחרים, כל מה שהרופאים אמרו, ובסוף הגיעו לעשות MRI של הגב, שהדגים שם שינויים ניווניים או איזשהו בלט דיסק, ואז חשבו שהכאבים ברגליים זה בעקבות הבלט דיסק הזה.
So this journey of trying to figure out what was happening lasted a couple of years, and the very last thing I was ever going to do was have surgery.
ממש לא רציתי לעשות ניתוח. I'm just putting out like the right.
Okay.
I'm not missing out anything.
No,
Okay.
The thing about Hebrew also is that it's like a quick, short language. So our 5 words is their 1 word.
Oh, okay. So I can make it last a little longer.
Not always, but I don't want to make it feel weird that I'm only translating. But I just said the last thing you wanted to do was surgery.
Okay.
That's
perfect.
it.
So
You be as dramatic as you want, please.
okay. So during this time, and I'll let Crisana speak to this, but she picked up her camera while I was really suffering with pain, not really knowing what she was going to do with the footage or what the outcome was going to be.
אז קריסאנה התחילה ממש לצלם אותה כשהיא הייתה ממש ממש כאובה, בלי לדעת באמת לאן הצילומים האלה ילכו ואם זה יתפתח לאיזשהו משהו בכלל.
So unfortunately, even though I didn't want to have surgery because there was a lot going on and there was a lot of stress in my life, my condition continued to decline. And I didn't really understand the power of mind-body healing back then, the way that I understand it now. And I ended up having 2 unsuccessful spine surgeries in 2020 that made me a lot worse off than before.
That was 3 years after your initial injury.
Yes.
Wow.
אז מה שהיא אומרת זה שהכאב פשוט הלך והתגבר עד 2020, שאז היא הייתה צריכה לעבור 2 ניתוחי גב שלא כל כך הצליחו ולא עזרו לכאב.
And maybe now, Krsana, as you know, the family of the injured can speak a little bit about what was happening for you, because it's an issue with what's happening with the person who's watching the person's suffering. So maybe you can share a few words.
Yeah, I just felt hopeless. I felt like this is not the quality of life that she deserves. And it also, her injury was the same month that we actually started our relationship. So it just felt like, is this all that it will ever be?
וואו, אז טובה שאלה אותה באמת איך היה להיות הבת זוג של הנפגעת, זאת אומרת, באיזה מצב זה שם אותה. אז היא אומרת באמת שזה היה חודש אחרי שהם הכירו ופתאום היא נפצעה, אז היא ממש הפכה למטפלת העיקרית והיא ראתה את הסבל של היקרה לה.
So then Dana or Crisana, to continue about how this body-mind work and these methods helped you, that you went ahead and wanted to have a retreat and make the movie, and how you saw this work healing. Because Ishai and I, we see this work healing. We devoted our careers to this because we see it happening, and there are so many people who are suffering and have so much doubt about the mind-body work. So your movie proves so many points. We talk a little bit more about that. Ishai, you can translate?
כן, היא שאלה אותם איך הם הגיעו לעבודה של גוף נפש ואיך הם הגיעו לדעת שזה באמת מה שנכון בשבילהם. טובה אמרה שאני וטובה באמת עובדים בגישת גוף נפש ורואים בזה המון תועלת שמועילה למטופלים שלנו.
Yeah, I'll share quickly, and Dana can speak to this too, but I think, so right after surgery, when I talk about being hopeless, that's really when I felt like, what are we supposed to do? Because before that, we tried so many different things, and I said, we can't ever lose hope. Hope is the thing we have to hold on to. So after surgery, when we were in the darkest place, and I was filming just a little bit, we did something really, really important. And we set aside 4 days for a Tony Robbins conference. And that just setting aside that time to work, virtually with someone to get us out of this depressed, hopeless state was really, really critical to us seeing light again and believing maybe there's a chance, maybe there's a purpose to this pain.
היא אומרת שממש כשהם היו אחרי הניתוח השני והם היו במצב של ממש חוסר תקווה וייאוש גמור, אז מה ששינה להם את הפרספקטיבה היה איזשהו קונפרנס עם טוני רובינס שהם הלכו אליו ל4 ימים, וזה ממש הצליח להוציא אותם מהמעגל של הייאוש. I just have to say, this is so important for the people that we work with, is that vortex of despair, is what I call it. It's like, it just sucks you down and sucks you under, and they can't even see beyond the pain, they can't see beyond, and just bringing their heads a little bit above the water can give such a good push, and it's a really good point. Thanks for sharing that.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, Dana, I'll let you share too, but we did that conference and it got us like moving again. Like Dana was laying in this futon, moving her arms, and so we touch on it just briefly in the film. But there was something about just he's all about shifting your state, and then we're not victims. And so just that bit of like, okay, we're not victims. Our life has a purpose. What are we going to do to make this worthwhile? And that really launched us into the next season.
Wow.
כאן היה נקודה שהוא אמר שאתם לא קורבנים, והוציא אותם מהקורבנות, הוציא אותם מהתודעה של להיות קורבן, וממש הוציא אותם לדרך חדשה.
Wow. So I think it's also important, because I know some people I spoke to this week, I mean, it's not about the pain being gone. I want to move a little bit forward to like where you're at today, because, you know, pain, chronic pain is counterintuitive. We think something's wrong, there's pain, but we know with chronic pain and this kind of pain, it's more the brain. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, because that's, I think, going to help some of the people that are stuck in that place. You want to say my question, Yishai?
כן, sorry. I was waiting.
It's interesting.
השאלה של באמת איך הכאב, כשאנחנו מבינים שהכאב הכרוני אנחנו משנים את התודעה שלנו שהכאב הוא לא באמת מהגוף, אלא אנחנו מבינים שכאב כרוני הרבה פעמים הוא מצב תודעתי, והוא נוצר מהמוח. אז היא שאלה איך הם יכולים להגיב לדבר הזה.
So I say this in the film, and I'm going to repeat it now, but I thought that my life was over when the pain started and I couldn't overcome it. And at the end, I realized that's really when my life began.
היא אומרת שברגע שהכאב התחיל היא הרגישה שהחיים שלה נגמרו. אבל אחרי שהכאב התחיל לרדת, היא הבינה שהחיים שלה רק התחילו ברגע של הכאב. That's a very strong sentence to say, and it's also very difficult for people that are in that vortex to hear.
Yep. You're right. And I didn't see it then, right? So that's the punchline, is that I was stuck with a lot of fear. I couldn't understand why I was experiencing so much pain, and no matter what I did, I couldn't move forward from it. And I didn't know how much my mindset, my brain, things that I have experienced throughout my life and never processed appropriately, I never gave my nervous system a chance to settle down and to go inward and to take that journey until this happened.
Wow.
היא ממש הייתה במערבולת של קושי וכאב, והיא לא נתנה לעצמה את ההזדמנות להסתכל פנימה. באמת היה לה קשה. המשפט שהיא אמרה מקודם הוא משפט שזה בעצם הפאנצ'ליין, אבל זה מראה עד כמה ההזדמנות הזאת הייתה חשובה ועמוקה בשבילה לשנות את כל החיים שלה. So is it okay that we ask, there's a question from the audience? So Lino asks, She wanted to ask Krisana if I think it's more to Dana, right? If she doesn't have at all pain, do you have pain at all today?
Yes, but it's changed drastically. You know, once I started understanding this more and doing these types of practices, I started to feel relief in other ways. You know, first my nervous system had to calm down for my body to calm down. And, you know, life is not without pain completely. It's my ability to navigate the pain journey that has completely changed. So my back after spine surgeries took a long time. And I'm so grateful to say that I don't really suffer with back pain anymore, which is a miracle, unless I'm standing for long periods of time. Like any human being will have some, you know, discomfort, everybody. But I am a different person now sitting here. I have a sprained ankle that happened a year plus ago that continues to kind of come back and bother me, but I no longer what I call catastrophize that, and I'm still living a very quality life.
Yeah, I'll try to get all of that. מה שהיא אומרת זה שזה לא שאין לה כאבים בכלל, ואין אדם שאין לו כאב, היא עדיין מתמודדת עם כאבים, אבל היא אומרת ששנתיים אחרי הניתוחי גב שלה שעשו את הכאבים העוצמתיים, היא לא סובלת מהגב יותר, אלא אם כן היא עומדת שעות ארוכות, כמו כל בן אדם נורמלי, הוא יחווה גם כאבים בגב תחתון, ויש איזשהו קרסול שהיא עוד פעם לקעה לפני שנה, והיא מתמודדת קצת עם כאבים, זאת אומרת, אין בן אדם שללא כאב, אבל היא אומרת שההתמודדות וההתייחסות והקטסטרופיזציה, להפוך את זה לאיזשהו קטסטרופה, והפאניקה שסביב כל הכאב הזה ירד משמעותית, וככה גם הכאב לא מנהל אותה יותר.
Maybe Krisana and Dana can answer this question. Can you share how it helped you so much to not have to change the goal from being out of pain to being loving and compassionate, and how that is scientific, and how you both experienced that throughout the movie and making the movie? Can you each talk about that? Isha, can you say that question that I asked them?
ההתייחסות למתי היה שיפט, מתי היה שינוי, והם ראו חשיבות מאוד גדולה בסרט לאהבה וחמלה עצמית, שזה תפס חלק מאוד נכבד בריפוי שלה.
Krisana, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, we both should, but I will say it was really redefining the relationship to pain. And what happened is, as I watched Dana use these tools, I completely redefined my own definition to my own internal pain, physical, emotional, mostly emotional for me. And what that did was it made me believe that pain is a friend and pain is a guide. And if that's true, then everything is working in my favor. Everything is good.
Wow.
אז היא אומרת שבעקבות העבודה של דיינה, היא שמה לב באמת לשינוי גם אצלה, והתחילה ליישם גם את הכלים ואת השיטות לגבי הכאב שלה, שהיה יותר כאב רגשי, לפי מה שהיא אומרת, פחות כאב פיזי, ואז היא הבינה שהכאב הוא בעצם המורה שלה, ואם ככה, אז הכל טוב והכל בסדר. וככה זה עזר לה גם להתמודדות שלה.
And for me, I needed to recognize that this pain was the signal that I needed to change something in my life. And the one thing that I was not doing was having the amount of sympathy and compassion and love and understanding and patience for myself while I was experiencing pain. I was very hard on myself and very fearful. So I literally had to start treating myself and the pain that I was experiencing as, like Krisanna says, like I would treat a friend, like somebody I loved and cared about, because I also deserved that. And that started to shift a lot for me.
השינוי המשמעותי שחל זה היה כשהיא הפגישה, שהיא פגשה בחוסר חמלה שלה כלפי עצמה ובנוקשות שלה כלפי עצמה. וברגע שהיא הבינה את זה והיא צריכה לתרגל חמלה עצמית, אז זה דבר שגרם ממש לאיזשהו שינוי. היא אומרת שהיא התנהגה כלפי עצמה כמו שהייתה מתנהגת כלפי חברה. Do you mind if I'm really curious.
Please.
It's like self-compassion has so many different tools, and you talked a little bit about being, to yourself as you would to a friend, right? But can you just talk a little bit more? I think it's really, really important. It's something that we neglect so much. And it really is. It was a shift in yourself, and I know it could be a shift in other people's lives. So if you can just share a little bit of the tools that helped you, I think it could really be helpful. שאלתי אותה אם היא יכולה לשתף בכלים שעזרו לה להביע את החמלה העצמית הזאת ולהתעסק יותר בחמלה העצמית באהבה עצמית.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. It's really amazing because, like Krisanna said, starting to shift from hopelessness to hope was really important, but that took some understanding of my condition to even get there. And the truth is, the first tool that I ever stumbled across that was very helpful in opening up my mind to what I was experiencing was the Curable app. And do you want me to stop there and you can...
כן, היא אומרת שאנחנו, I'm just saying we have no regards regarding the app, or we're not, we don't have...
It's also it was a daily reminder. You had daily information, daily input coming in.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying like in paragraph for that, we're not advocating any...
Right.
Yeah, we don't have any issues or we don't get any monetary whatever. אז אין לנו שום... זה, אבל האפליקציה שעבדה בשבילה זה ה-Curable app, ששם היא התחילה באמת את העבודה הראשונות גם מבחינת המידע לגבי המצב שלה, ששינה הרבה מהפרספקטיבה שלה, וגם כלפי החמלה העצמית.
So it didn't matter where that information came from, but what it did was help me understand what was happening, what TMS is, what was happening in my brain, and what some of the things that I could do to help myself. So I started doing self-compassion type meditations, and I started to do expressive writing, or what some people know as journal speak, to release a lot of emotions that I never expressed anger throughout my life, despite how much abuse that I endured. So there was a lot that needed to be released, and that was just the first tool. There's many tools since then, especially throughout the filming and going to a retreat, and we can talk more about that. But the very initial tools of showing myself love and self-compassion were going, first of all, understanding my condition better from the brain science, then implementing some writing exercises where I even wrote a letter to myself, wrote a letter to the pain I was experiencing, and going inward and processing that in a different way.
זאת אומרת, השלבים הראשונים היה באמת הכרה ב-TMS והכרה בכאב שהוא כאב נוירופלסטי, והכרה בזה שהוא לא משהו מבני, ואז לתרגל את החמלה העצמית על ידי האפליקציה הזאת, וגם על ידי כתיבה רגשית. אפילו מספרת שהיא כתבה מכתב לכאב שלה, בו היא הביעה הרבה רגש, היא אמרה שהרבה שנים היה לה קשה להביע כעס, והיה לה הרבה כעס עצור. היא עברה פגיעה כשהיא הייתה יותר צעירה, וזה נתן לה הזדמנות לפרוק את הכעס הזה ואת הזעם הזה על הכתב.
Can I share one too? So early on, Dana learned the power of essentially catastrophizing the pain, and she had a lot of descriptive words that she would use. So we decided together that we would no longer talk about it. So I stopped asking, and actually to this day I don't really ask. Wow. And she stopped describing. And so the whole energy of our home changed, the energy of conversation changed. And even when she would describe, instead of saying stabbing, burning, you know, all these words, she would say it's uncomfortable, or my body is speaking to me.
Beautiful.
So those were huge. Those were like really, really big.
Like a new language.
חשוב. היא אומרת שגם בינם לבין עצמם בזוגיות הם החליטו ביחד לא לדבר על הכאב שלהם יותר, לא לתת לו במה. והשיח שלהם השתנה, במקום שהיא תגיד שזה עכשיו דוקר ושורף ומעיק, אז היא אומרת, יש לי תחושה לא נעימה, או שהיא הייתה אומרת, אני מרגישה קצת אי נעימות או חוסר נעימות, והם לא היו מדברים בכלל על הכאב, ועד היום הזה היא אומרת שהיא לא שואלת על הכאב, היא לא מדברת על הכאב. It's so important that it's like more, you know, not identifying when you two talk and you're a couple, right? And you're really, really interested in seeing, you know, how are you doing? How's the pain? Whatever. But what you're really doing is just connecting that identification with the pain in that person next to you, and then it makes it so much difficult, so much harder to disconnect with that identity, right? And what are you asking me how I am without regarding my pain, right? That's something completely different.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good point.
Yeah. We say that in Hebrew. That's beautiful. Even what you said, Ishai. Can you repeat that last part?
אמרתי שההתייחסות, שבאמת השיח ביניהם עזר להוציא את הזהות של הכאב מהנושא. זאת אומרת, ברגע שהם שואלים אותי מה שלומי, וזה לא בהתייחסות לכאב, אז זה מפחית את ההזדהות שלי עם הכאב, ואז זה יכול להקל על ההפרדה בין הכאב והזהות של מי שאני באמת.
Wow.
And I'll just say that boundary extended to family and doctors. So even today, Dana has a practitioner she's working with who wants her to rate pain every time. And she told him, I will not. Sorry. I won't put a number to the pain.
אפילו מטפלים ורופאים, היא לא מדברת על הכאב איתם. Okay, good.
You know, it's hard not to give the pain an identity. But we learn that that's the fear. That's the control. You know, as opposed to, and part of my work is to educate people that pain is an emotion, and it's processed in the same place as fear and anger and shame and the core feelings. So and I learned from the Boulder, Colorado study that, well, we have sensations. I mean, Dana, you had some strong sensations, but they're sensations, and if you add fear, they will turn into pain. And that's another big discussion. Go ahead, Ishai.
כן, היא אומרת שהפחד פשוט מגביר את הכאב, והכאב המקור שלו באזורים רגשיים של אשמה ואבל וכעס. וברגע שיש איזושהי תחושה בגב, יכול להתרגם לכאב בעזרת הפחד.
What else, Ma'od, what else were you, can you talk a little bit about the somatic work? Because people in Israel are very into, there's so much Eastern healing happening here. I mean, Qigong and Tai Chi and so many. So I know a lot of the Israelis can relate to what you're doing, some of the somatic work, if you can talk a little bit about that.
נשאלה קצת על העבודה הסומטית שהם עשו.
Is that a question to me?
Yeah, to talk about this, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you meant for him to talk about it.
Yeah. No.
Yes. A really, really important part of the work that I started doing during the film, because we were taught a lot of these mind-body practices, was how to properly balance my energy. You know, I wasn't getting a lot of energy flow throughout my body at all. I wasn't getting into my body because for so long I felt like my body was my enemy.
Well, stop at that point. This is
and I'll let him. Yeah.
This is important.
היא מדברת על זה שבהתחלה היא עבדה הרבה על האנרגיה שזורם לה בגוף, ושבהתחלה היא שמה לב היא לא הייתה אנרגטית בכלל, לא היה לה שום אנרגיה שזורם בתוך הגוף, וזה גם משהו שתקע את ההתקדמות.
So it wasn't until I decided that getting into my body was safe. I couldn't turn a corner until I realized that actually connecting with my body, although that's where I was experiencing the discomfort, was the place that I needed to cultivate safety to help myself.
היה לה קושי ממש להיכנס לתוך הגוף שלה, להתחבר לגוף שלה ולתחושות שבגוף שלה, כי היא כל הזמן הייתה במין הדחקה של הדברים האלה, היא לא רצתה לחוש את הדברים שהיא חשה. אז ברגע שהיא הבינה שהדרך היחידה באמת לטפל בכאב זה להיכנס פנימה ולהבין את תחושות הגופניות, אז התחיל השינוי גם.
So safe movement was something that helped me immensely. So very mindful, like you said, Qigong is almost like a moving meditation, and very gentle stretches of things that I knew weren't going to hurt me. Like even if they caused discomfort, I wasn't hurting myself structurally, if that makes sense.
כן, היא התחילה לעשות פעולות גופניות בטוחות, שהיא אמרה, גם עם הכאבים, היא הצליחה למצוא תנועות ותנוחות, שהיא הצליחה לעשות תוך כדי תחושה של ביטחון, איזושהי תנועה מודעת. היא אומרת, זה כמו צ'יקונג, שזה בעצם איזושהי מדיטציה בתנועה, או טאי-צ'י זה כמו מדיטציה בתנועה, ותוך כדי התנועה היא יכולה לחוש בביטחון עם התנועה, וככה לחוש גם ביטחון יותר בגוף שלה.
So one of the first people before we started filming the documentary that I met to help teach me these safe movements was actually Danny Fagan. She started doing the yoga classes, and it was one of the first things I did to start moving without that fear.
היא אומרת שיוגה זה הדבר הראשוני שהתחילה לעשות, להנכיח תנועה וחזרה לגוף שלה בביטחון, והיא יכולה, ואז היא יכלה לעשות את התנועות האלה ללא פחד.
We're going to answer another question from Lenore, and then we'll take a question from Dan. Ishai?
I think Lenore just asked the question directly when I asked. She asked, like, how do you practice self-compassion?
Oh, okay, good.
That was just, we talked about that. So we can go on to Dan's question.
Did you have fears to do certain actions like running or jumping? Are you doing these actions today? If so, when did you get the courage to do it for the first time without fear of the attack that might follow?
Do you want to translate the question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm not a translator.
You're doing an amazing job. Amazing.
I hope so. I hope I'm not getting this all like...
you're doing great.
אז דן שואל, האם היה איזשהו פחד לעשות פעולות מסוימות, כמו קפיצות, כמו ריצה, ואם אתם עושים את הפעולות האלה היום, ואם כן, מתי היה הפעם הראשונה שבאמת עזרת אומץ לעשות את זה, בלי החשש שמה ההתקף הבא יכול לבוא?
So to answer the first part of the question, yes, I did have a lot of fear to do certain actions that I was taught to fear them. I can't twist, I can't run, there's too much pressure on your back, you'll re-herniate your disc. So I was told to fear those things by the surgeon and by doctors.
אז היו דברים שבאמת היא פחדה לעשות, כי נאמר לה שזה אסור לה לעשות, אסור להסתובב, אסור לרוץ, זה יכול לעשות נזק. אז מהדברים האלה היא פחדה.
So earlier this year, I started to do things again that I loved. I would
horseback riding.
Yes, I would be on a horse, or I would start playing. I don't know if this is in Israel, but it's like pickleball. Like it's kind of like tennis, but not the same. And I started hiking, and I actually started to get my life back in a big way, where I just let that fear go and telling myself, this is not going to injure me. These are very safe things for me to do. but I did them within reason. And I think the most important thing that we need to do is listen to our bodies. So we can do something and then check in with ourselves. How are we feeling? Is this just fear of what I've been taught? Or am I feeling something where I need to just take it easy, you know?
היא אומרת שבהתחלה באמת היה לה קשה, אבל היום היא גם רוכבת על סוסים, והיא גם משחקת משחק פיקלבול, לא יודע מה זה, דמוי טניס, שפיקלבול is like, it's really, the translation is really funny, I don't even know what that is, but never mind. אז היא אומרת שהדבר החשוב לעשות זה להקשיב לגוף, זאת אומרת, היא עשתה את הדברים בצורה מאוד מאוד בטוחה, במקום שהיא ידעה שהדברים האלה, שהגיעה לאיזשהו מקום עם עצמה, שהיא ידעה שהדברים האלה בטוחים לה. I'm just adding, I think, and just tell me if that's okay, that you didn't jump into riding horses at the beginning. It had to, you really built the confidence in your own body, and by doing some, you know, gradual exposure to the pain or gradual exposure to actions that you, and feeling and believing slowly that you can do it. And then when the belief was strong, then you leaped a little bit higher. It was kind of, right? Is that okay that I?
Yes, I could not have said it better myself. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, פשוט אמרתי שממש בהדרגה, תוך כדי ביטחון והקשבה לגוף שלה, לדעת מתי זה נכון לה, מתי היא מרגישה מספיק בטוחה לעשות את הדברים האלה.
So there were several months where I felt like I got my life back. And then my ankle started to hurt because I had twisted it a while back and I was doing a lot more. And so began the journey again of making sure there was nothing structural. So I had an MRI and it showed inflammation, and then figuring out what my next steps are, literally, like how much can I do, and believing that I'm not injuring myself by taking walks again or doing things that are more active. So I'm there again. My back feels great, but now I'm figuring out how to move through this again with my ankle. And instead of feeling angry or scared, I'm very mindful about my next steps, and I'm approaching it with a lot of acceptance. I'm very calm and just meeting myself where I'm at.
זאת אומרת, 4 חודשים אחרי שהיא החלימה ולא היה לה כאבים, היא נקעה את הרגל, ועוד פעם היא עשתה את כל הדברים שצריך לעשות, היא עשתה MRI וצילומים, והבינה שיש שם קצת דלקת, אבל לא משהו רציני, ועכשיו היא כבר משקמת את עצמה מיינדפולי, כאילו תוך כדי התבוננות על הצעדים הבאים של התרתי משמע, על ההליכה הזאת, הליכה על הרגל. Can I add something, because it's really, really funny, because I had this patient that we're working for a while, and he started doing yoga, and then he felt this really, really painful burning sensation in his upper thigh, and he was sure it was again like neuroplastic pain, and you know, mind body, and then he sends me, like a week after, he sends me this horrifying picture of his thigh that was really wounded and bruised, and he didn't even realize it. So it's a good point just to notice, and me being a doctor, I have to say that first rule out. It's important to rule out, and once you rule out, you know, go ahead and have fun with the pain.
Say that in Hebrew, and then I want to add something to that. Can you just say that, what you just said about this patient of yours?
כן, אמרתי שאני באמת מטופל שתוך כדי עבודה איתי, הוא שם לב שיש לו כאב מאוד גדול בירך העליון, ואז אחרי כמה שבועות הוא שם לב, כי זה היה ממש אחורי, אז הוא שם לב שיש שם שטף דם נורא גדול, והוא בעצם באמת פצע את עצמו. וזה לא היה הכאב הנורופלסטי הרגיל שלו, אז באמת מה שהיא אמרה זה שכל הזמן, קודם כל מאוד מאוד חשוב לשלול את הדברים המבניים והרקמתיים, היא קודם עשתה את ה-MRI ואת הצילום, ואחר כך להמשיך את הטיפול עם הכאב.
And I think Kריסאנה and both Dana can address this, and maybe you, Ishai. You know, we do live in a medical model, and we are still surrounded by, you know, running causes the disc to herniate. Ankles get weak from, like, we still have these labels and we still have these fears, and they're being told to us by our parents, by the community, but you get morning headaches like the TV. We have to put it into perspective. And my sense is that you need, like Dana said, you need to know your body. You need to trust your body, that no matter what happens, you can handle it. There's an overall, like, you're the doctor. You can handle, especially chronic pain. There's acute pain, gets better. Chronic pain, the majority of it, as far as I'm concerned, and disease is autoimmune, and the body can heal. And there's a huge mind component that we're talking about here, the body and the mind. So I want Ishai to say that in Hebrew, and I would love you to all talk about that, because overall we're dealing with a lot of doubt and conflict because of what's happening with pain and medical and body mind, and we're here to educate, but it's not black or white. We're here to integrate. So Ishai, can you share my sermon?
Yeah, you know that we think a bit differently in this, in that,
It's okay.
Right. So I'll translate.
Okay. We can disagree.
Because now I'm in a difficult position, right? Because
it's okay. We're all in the exact position we're supposed to be in.
So, אז היא אומרת שבאמת התפקיד שלנו זה לעשות את החיבור הזה בין גוף נפש, ולא להיות מותנים ממה שהרפואה המערבית בהכרח מכתיבה לנו, שבלט דיסק זה הכאב, וזה דבר שמחלה אוטואימיונית, אין דרך לטפל בה. יש מרכיבים גם של גוף נפש, של שילוב בין שניהם, ואנחנו מנסים לעשות איזושהי אינטגרציה ביניהם.
Ishai, can you share your perspective? I'd love to hear.
My perspective about autoimmune disease, and I think that there are a lot of body mind ailments, and a lot of ailments that can be helped by body mind work, but there's a lot of the science that stands by its own regarding autoimmune disease, very conflicts. Like there's a base of conflict there regarding body, mind, and autoimmune disease. Not regarding that they don't have any. I think every ailment that comes into a person's life, including MI, right, including myocardial infarction, has some bit of body, mind, right, but there still is an occlusion of one of the arteries that needs to be open. Right, so we really have to learn how to use this type of work, this body-mind work, without diminishing, with being able to help as many people as possible, without getting their hopes up. And I'm having a hard time.
People get better from the medical system.
Right.
When there's medically unexplained symptoms, or people can heal, this healing can play a major role, and the physical, physiological, neurological body can change from the emotional place. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Most people will not be in our world because they're getting better with medicine and chemo and surgery. But then there's these people like us, and thousands of people, and the pain epidemic, which we're not going to talk about, where this piece will play a major role. So that we agree on, Ishai. And I
think what we all agree on is the mindset that is so important in everything. It doesn't matter if you have cancer or if you have a broken leg, right? In order to heal better, the mindset has to be there, right? You can have a twisted ankle and then have pain for a few years or for a few weeks, and it really has a lot to do with your mindset.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm not going to translate everything.
Okay. No, it's very, and listen, I'm definitely subjective. It's coming on 3 years of this TMS roundtable. There's over 200 shidurim, 200 200 is shtemeod, right?
200.
200. And I've met so many people that have healed so many different things. So, and these are not, like I say, Dalai Lamas on the mountain. They're people like you and I who, and this is where it's hard for me not to feel that everyone has an opportunity to walk this path. And then the movie Love Heals showed many different conditions. People that just had trauma. You know, the woman who was driving the car and killed her best friend, the guy who shot someone. There was just different things, not even physical traumas. So I think it's a bigger discussion, and I get off my train of thought and get a little bit balagan, which is like a little bit because I get excited and emotional myself about it. But I think where Isha and I can come together, and we have talked about this a lot, is that, you know, we're integrating the medical world into the holistic world, and the science of neuroplasticity is science. The brain can change. I think this is very important. Can you just say that for a minute, Ishai?
המוח ממש יכול להשתנות, ואנחנו, מה שאנחנו באים פה זה לעשות איזושהי אינטגרציה בין העולמות האלה. Can I ask a question, Dina? I wanted to really ask you about the amplification. Like, what did the movie, when it was out, right, and people got to see part of your life, right? How did that affect your life? How did it affect? Because you have to, you know, you have to also stand behind, you know, the message that you send out to people, and there's probably conflict, probably inside and out. And I was really wondering where that meets you.
That's a great question. I think, first of all, because I allowed myself to be so vulnerable in the film and share things publicly about my life, after people saw it, I think it gave a lot of humans permission to admit that they had a lot of things happen in their life that they never really processed or healed in their lives. You know, emotionally, they didn't really release those things. It also gave people permission, and especially men. We've had a lot of men say, I've never felt love for myself. I didn't even realize that was important. So regardless of the mind-body work and the modalities, I mean, that matters, sure. But what's most important is that it's giving people an opportunity to show up authentically and start to realize that there are things about their lives that maybe they would like to start addressing. Maybe self-love is something they'd like to explore. Maybe speaking about things that have happened to them and allowing themselves to process, whether it's with a therapist or doing a writing exercise or releasing a scream in their car or into a pillow. Like, it's given people permission to feel.
I really want to translate that because that was beautiful in my opinion. שאלתי אותה איך זה השפיע על החיים האישיים שלה, אולי אחרי הסרט, והיא מספרת שהאפליקציות של הסרט, עצם זה שהיא הייתה פגיעה מול המסך ומול המצלמה, נתן בעצם אפשרות לאנשים אחרים להיות פגיעים. היא מדברת בעיקר גם על גברים שפתאום שמים לב שהם אף פעם לא חוו אהבה עצמית כלפי עצמם, או ביטוי רגש כזה או אחר בצורה כזאת משמעותית, אז זה ממש עשה אימפקט מאוד מאוד משמעותי על הרבה אנשים, לתת להם גושפנקה לתחושות שלהם.
Because even if we're just talking about a relationship between ourselves and our body, and ourselves and a condition, and ourselves and symptoms, this is a very important, this is it. This is a relationship, and the body and the condition, the symptoms will respond, whether it's a permanent condition or not. You know, people, so that is a key here, is the relationship.
הנקודת מפתח פה זה מערכות יחסים, הקשר בין אנשים והכאב שלהם, וזה מה שבאמת באמת חשוב, כן.
Right. So Kריסאנה and Dana, maybe each of you want to share a thought to leave with the listeners. There's a handful out there, and then I'll share it on our YouTube and share it on the Facebook page, because this already been some really profound things, and I've met with you ladies a few times, and wow, it's just so profound to be with you and hear these words. They're really words of wisdom. So maybe each can share with our audience how they can help themselves, be their own doctor, be their own therapist, be their own healer.
Yeah, I'll start. Thank you, Tova. The reason that I said yes to the film is because the executive producer wanted to share two messages. And the first is that we are our own best healers. And the second is the healing power of self-love. So I'll let you translate that and then I'll continue.
So the first one was?
You are your own best healer. And then the healing power of self-love.
זאת אומרת שיש שתי דברים מרכזיים שהיא רוצה להשאיר כמסר האחרון, שזה אחד זה שאנחנו המרפאים הכי טובים לעצמנו. And the second one was, sorry, I just...
It's okay, the power of self-love.
I just want to hear you say it again. זה הכוח של אהבה עצמית. האדם שהוא המרפא הכי אמיתי לעצמו והכי חשוב לעצמו, והכוח המרפא של אהבה.
Yeah, so what I learned throughout this journey is that fear shuts us down. There's no hope, there's no options when we're in fear. But when we're in love, it opens us up to what might be possible. And so even right now, Dana and I are about to embark. We follow medical medium, and we feel it's also very important to know what we're putting in our bodies, to detoxify our bodies. Like, this is not just about mindset, it's also about the internal organs and such. So I just think when we're in love, we're just open to possibilities and learnings and listening to other people who can give us insight into what might be our next step.
אז היא אומרת שפחד זה משתק, זה מכסה, זה לא מאפשר אופציות נוספות בכלל, וברגע שהיא פתוחה לאהבה, אז בעצם נפתחות כל האופציות לריפוי. אפשר להסתכל קדימה, גם לטפל בתודעה ובמיינדסט, וגם לטפל בגוף עצמו, על ידי תזונה טובה וכו' וכו'.
And for me, I think my greatest learnings that I would like to share is that whatever you're going through, you're not alone. Even when it feels like it, when you feel very misunderstood and isolated and alone, you're not. And it's important to find community and people who have the type of mindset that you want to have. I couldn't have done this alone. It's hard to get out of fear and hopelessness when you're by yourself. So I'd like to start with that, and then I'll add one more thing.
היא אומרת שכדי באמת לצאת מהמעגל הזה של פחד וייאוש, מאוד מאוד קשה לעשות את זה לבד. והיא ממליצה לאנשים לא להיות לבד עם זה. לחפש את העזרה, לחפש אנשים שיש להם מיינדסט דומה, שיכול לקחת אותם הלאה, ולא להתקע לבד עם הכאב ועם הפחד והייאוש.
And the other thing that was so important for me to learn was that as I watched other people, heal their lives with these practices and find relief, I was very hard on myself. I couldn't understand why I created like this checklist of everything that I should do. I did my meditation, I did my qigong, I did my stretching, I did my journaling. I was looking for the silver bullet. And because I was doing that, it just kept my nervous system very up. And it wasn't until I realized that doing these things, because they make me feel better in general, because I want to do them for my overall well-being as a human, and I wasn't looking for that exact outcome any longer, that's when I started to feel a shift. So I just encourage people to just be gentle with themselves and do these things because they want to live a more quality life. And then those symptoms just really start to relax.
Such an important message also to remind me and my patients. It's so important. מה שהיא אומרת שהדבר השני שהיא רוצה להגיד זה שהיא הייתה עושה את כל הדברים שאמרו לה לעשות. היא הייתה עושה את הצ'יקונג ואת המדיטציה ואת הכתיבה ואת כל הדברים. היא הייתה עושה רשימה והיא לא ידעה והיא לא הבינה למה זה לא עובד ולמה התסמינים שלה לא עוברים. עד שהיא הבינה שהיא רוצה לעשות את הדברים האלה לא כדי ועל מנת שהכאב יעבור, אלא כדי לשפר את האיכות חיים שלה. וברגע שירד הדרישה הזאת שהכאב יעבור בעצם יצר איזשהו מצב תודעתי, סטרס שלעצמו. אז ברגע שירד לה הדרישה הזאת מעצמה והתייחסה לעצמה ויותר חמלה עצמית, ככה הריפוי יכול היה להגיע.
Amazing.
It's so important that small, I really, it's a big impact because people really, nothing's happening. I'm doing everything that you tell me to do. I'm doing everything. Why is it not helping? It's the vortex.
Yes.
So we will meet again. I'm sure of that. We will meet again. And I so appreciate this hour. And I know Ishai and I will have a lot to say. And we're taking this to the next, we're helping people just like, with this work. So you've just been part of our healing team. And I feel blessed. I had a few patients this last month that said to me, I want to be on your show. I thought, that's the motive. That's like, I want to help others heal. So really grateful for you ladies. And Ishai, you did a fantastic job. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure meeting you both. And I really appreciate you taking the time and your experience and bringing it out to the open like that.
Well, thank you for the work you're doing as well. It's very encouraging.
Yeah. So have a wonderful holiday and a very, very joyful new year. And we'll meet again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.